Hi guys, this is Dylan from the Fantasy app. I'm talking to you today about our Week 13 recap, so stay tuned to find out lots of new information and be sure to download the Fantasy app. So before we get started, I just want to talk about the big NFL news for Week 13. One being that the Patriots lost again. That's a 2-game losing streak after such a big winning streak. It's pretty surprising. We're not sure what's going on with Tom Brady. And then we want to talk about the Panthers, who are still undefeated. Good for Cam Newton. Last year around this time, he was in a bad car accident and it wasn't looking so good. And look at him this year, undefeated. It's amazing. And we also want to talk about Johnny Manziel. He was named starter cornerback for the Browns this week. Mike Pettin made this decision after benching him for a drinking video. So it seems that his partying ways have once again destroyed him, but this time he's going to make a comeback. I have faith that he will do well and he won't mess up this time. So this week's top scoring quarterbacks were Cam Newton and Marcus Mariota. They both had 35 fantasy points. And like I said before, Cam Newton deserves it. He's having a phenomenal season. He's unstoppable. And it seems that he is always one of our leaders. So that is absolutely someone you want to have on your team. We also had Ben Roethlisberger with 33 points. He's another person that's unstoppable. He comes back from injuries like it's nothing. He gets back up and he dominates. They had a great game Sunday Night Football. Antonio Brown as well. So that is definitely people that you want to add to your team if you can. So this week's top scoring running back was Javarius Allen. He had a total of 22 fantasy points. That's not really a name we've seen up here before. We also had Matt Forte and TJ Yeldon with top scoring running back positions, but it's a little bit scary as a fantasy player if it's different names each week in the top scorers because that makes it inconsistent. But I say that you still want to stick with Rawls, you want to stick with Adrian Peterson, and these people that have been consistently performing. They might not have done best this week, but overall they're top scoring, and that's who you want to have on your team coming into playoffs. So for this week's wide receivers, I talked about this man before, but Antonio Brown had a phenomenal game. It was so exciting to watch. He even ran into a post and fell off. He's silly, but he's talented. We also had Allen Robinson up there and Doug Baldwin. These are all names we've seen before, so these are the wide receivers that you want to have on your team going into playoffs, and they killed it Week 13 as they have in the past. So this week's top scoring tight end was Richard Rodgers. He connected with Aaron Rodgers as the Green Bay Packers won in that crazy game. But we also had Delanie Walker. That was my pick last week and my prediction. He killed it. He is a sleeper pick. Not really so much anymore because he's finally getting noticed. But he's a guy that I picked up and everyone was like, who is that? And now he's killing it. I knew he would. He's at the Tennessee Titans. Grab him if you don't already have him. So for this week, our top scoring defense was the Eagles, which is pretty crazy because they played the Patriots and they won, which maybe was a surprise to most, but I think some people had faith. We also had the Broncos who made their comeback. Their defense was going downhill hardcore. They started off super strong at the beginning of the season and then it went down and here they are back up. And also our top scoring defense, number 3, was the Steelers. So this week, the kicker we want to talk about was Dan Bailey. He scored a total of 15 fantasy points, and although he was number 3 on the list, he had an amazing field goal at the end of the game that led the Cowboys to the lead, so I think he's who you want to talk about. He did a phenomenal job, and also before him, we had Shane Graham, just to reiterate who is number 1, but Dan Bailey is a guy to talk about this week. So that's it for our Week 13 recap. I hope you enjoyed. My name is Dylan. I'm from the Fantasy app. Follow me on Twitter at DylanFantasyApp. Download the Fantasy app and follow the Fantasy app on Twitter at TheFantasyApp1. And be sure to tune in for my Week 14 predictions. They're super important because this is playoffs round 1 and you don't want to lose.